And now we journey under the sea to another different world. For those seeking underwater treasures, the seas around the Philippines are littered with sunken wrecks harking back to ancient trading days and 2 world wars. It's not an easy task. Trying to find a shipwreck is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. There are hardly any records or ship logs, and even when you can pinpoint a location, it can take up to 6 months to find the wreck that's been buried under the sand and coral from the hundreds of years it's been under the sea.
But one man, Brian Homan, has risen to the challenge and has spent the better half of his life scouring Philippine seabeds for these underwater time capsules. Aya Low spoke to him about what drew him to search for what lies beneath the waves.
When Brian Homan first landed on Philippine shores in 1978, he had one thing in mind: to find the many wrecks that still littered the bottom of the oceans around the country. Homan headed straight to where he knew there was some to be found, the port town of Puerto Galera in Mindoro, an island a couple of hours south of Manila. Puerto Galera, which translates to the Port of Galleys, has for thousands of years been an ocean highway for ships passing through the various islands. It was also at one point a harbour, which Spanish captains used for refuge and minor repair work on their way down from the Verde Passage. There, Homan was one of the first foreigners to put up a dive resort called Captain Greg's, and used this as his base to begin his explorations.
I had information on about 15 wrecks at the time around Mindoro, and I came up in 1978. And I went to Puerto Galera. I was the first foreigner to actually set up a business in Puerto Galera.
Homan's intuition to start in Galera turned out to be spot on, and his first find was his luckiest and his best. He started from information he received about a Chinese wreck just off the shore. He spent months diving and trailing the area, searching for any evidence of the wreck. On one of his dives, he spotted a perfectly round object and swam up to it. As he started digging on the side, a ceramic dragon emerged. He knew that this must have come off a ship. Having run out of oxygen, he resurfaced with the aim of returning with extra hands to recover the rest of the ship. When he returned with people, the sands had shifted and he wasn't able to find anything.
On the third day, the other divers thought that I was just making fun of everybody and setting them up. They thought I must have bought the antiques I had somewhere, and I was just trying to pretend I had a shipwreck.
On the fourth day, he swam deeper and was able to find another dragon jar. The visibility was so good, he looked up and could see where he was digging 4 days before, and between his second jar and the first jar, he saw an outline in the sand shaped like a boat. At that time, Homan didn't know anything about shipwreck diving or underwater archaeology. With his first find under his arms, Homan put on his best shoes and headed straight to the National Museum in Manila. When he arrived, he walked up to the Underwater Archaeology Department and presented his finds.
We did a deal with the government. They had never done a maritime archaeological recovery in the Philippines at that time. We did the first one.
Homan's first discovery turned out to be one of the most important finds in the brief history of marine archaeology in the Philippines. Not only were most of the storage jars intact, but full excavation of the site yielded ceramics, cooking utensils, and personal effects of the crew. The vessel was identified as a Filipino balanghay, a big outrigger sailing boat that sank around the 1500s. Following the first find, Homan struck a deal with the National Museum, where he would be given permission to explore sunken wrecks as long as he shared the findings with the museum. The waters of the Philippines are littered with wrecks of thousands of vessels, from Chinese junks to Arab dhows to treasure-laden galleons and battle fleets from 2 world wars. Clyde Hagoon, who is the head of the Underwater Archaeology Department, says these come from a time when the Philippines was at a crossroads of international trade.
Even before the Spanish came, the Philippines are already engaged in inter-island trade and even with the other countries. So, because uniqueness of our position in Southeast Asia, we are like at the center of trade. So when the Spanish came, they introduced the galleon trade, which boosted the trade with Spain and the Philippines and China. Aside from China, we have also the trade goods.